Hey guys, and welcome to another Paranormal Q and A video. In this video, I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can in as much detail as possible, but I get so many questions every day that I just can't answer them all. So if I don't get to your question in this video, don't worry, I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer it as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Lorna asks, "Hi Michael, we live in an increasingly energy efficient society, energy saving light bulbs, energy efficient fridges, etc, etc. Do you think it would be affecting spirits' energy levels?" That's a really interesting question because, as you say, like society as a whole is pushing the energy efficiency thing. I mean, we've got energy efficient light bulbs and stuff around the house here, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to affect the spirit's energy levels that much, because there is so much they can draw energy from. I mean, it's a widespread theory that they draw energy from electronic devices. I mean, investigators have been reporting batteries going flat unexpectedly, devices just dying when they were fully charged for no reason, and that's been going on for years. So I mean, I'm on board with that. Don't get me wrong, I've had it happen to me, so I'm definitely on that side of things. I believe that that's the case, but I think they probably don't take as much energy as we think they do. I mean, the difference in an energy-saving light bulb, for example, versus a regular one, if they took the amount that was different, you would get much more than a minuscule EMF spike on a K2 meter when they were nearby. I mean, they would be an actual shock value to it. Like, you know what I mean? If you came in contact with it, they would be much more than, oh, a little bit of static on your skin. I think you would feel it a lot more if they were drawing that much energy. I think the whole thing about batteries going flat, I think that is just a reaction to the spirit's energy being nearby. Yes, they're drawing some of it, but I think the whole thing going flat, I don't think it's like they've just took the whole thing and that's it. I think there's probably some reaction there, and there is a discharge on the battery. I think that's probably more likely to be the case. Obviously, that's opinion. That's just a kind of theory, but I don't think they need as much energy as we think they do. Kieran asks, "I've noticed you have a tendency of putting the moon phase in your videos when you are recording paranormal activity. Do you think that the positioning of the moon can somehow affect the intensity of the paranormal energy on Earth?" Yes, I do think that the moon has a huge effect on like spirit energy in our environment and the amount of paranormal activity we can capture. I mean, for me, it came to mind about a year or so ago. I noticed that the house was getting kind of active. I was starting to hear footsteps more frequently. I was capturing things on camera, and I noticed that the moon was becoming full. And I just kind of drew that correlation, made the theory, and started sort of tracking it just as a way of collecting the data to prove it. And I started to notice over the coming months that the more full the moon was, the more active the house would get. And it's not like a guaranteed thing at the full moon every month, things start kicking off. But I did start noticing that if I was to tally it up, there would be more on the side of the full moon than not, if you know what I mean. And so last year on my Halloween special full investigation video, instead of doing it on Halloween, I decided to do it on the full moon as a way of trying to back up my theory. And I caught so much activity that I just had to draw the conclusion that it's the full moon's energy that's affecting it. And I mean, I can't go into the sciences of why the moon would affect it, and I hate to use the word mystic, but there is something just mystical about the moon's energy. I mean, it has huge effects on like the tide. I know a lot of psychics deal with moon phases and whatnot, and I mean, down to basics, it is reflecting the sun's light. So I mean, the sun does give off energy, like that is a thing, and you know what I mean. So there is that, and I just think that the more full it is, the more active things can be. And I mean, like I say, it's not guaranteed, but that's just the theory that I'm working on. So I continue to track it just as a way of collecting that data at this point. Gordon asks, "You recently mentioned working in a warehouse and distributing leaflets. I wondered about your workmates and their attitude towards your paranormal life. Any mickey taking?" To be honest, I just don't tell people if I can help it. I avoid it altogether. I tend to keep a line between my work environment and my home environment. And it used to be so much worse in the old work environment that I was in, because I was surrounded by more people, and just the more people there are, the more chances there are that someone's going to find something on Facebook or watch a video on YouTube. And you'd get the occasional person would come up and they'd just genuinely be interested, and they'll tell you about their experiences and they'll ask about yours, and you can have a decent conversation with them. But then you do always get, you know, the the occasional knobhead that will come up and they'll take the piss, or they'll say that you were faking it all and how did you do this? And to be honest, you either ignore them or you just agree with them and send them on the way. I mean, it doesn't really affect me at the end of the day. It's not like I'm being bullied for it or anything. I just leave them to it. But I found it's just easier just to avoid it altogether and just keep a line between the two, work and my home life. Mags asks, isn't there enough evidence out there now for confirmation of the spirit world? No, I don't think there is. And to be honest, as negative as it sounds, I don't think there ever will be a bit of evidence that you could put out there that would prove that spirits exist. And it's such a shame, because that is what we strive for as investigators. And I mean, I once upon a time I looked at it and I was like, if I could capture that right bit of evidence with enough tools to validate it, enough things going on that it just became so undeniable that something was affecting these devices, that would be enough to convince skeptics. And I've just noticed as the years have gone on that is just never ever going to happen. Skeptics will always be there. I mean, the only way to truly convince everybody is to have them all experience something themselves, like have some kind of undeniable paranormal experience. And there is no environment where that is a guarantee ever. And I think even if you got everybody in one room and something happened to everyone, there would always be people just in complete denial that would always think of some excuse, no matter how ridiculous it might sound, to convince themselves that could not be a paranormal occurrence. And it's such a shame. And I think most of it stems from the fact that we're capturing evidence on video, and videos can be manipulated. And it's as simple as that. No matter what you put out, and like I say, I've put out a lot, and if no matter what I've put out, no matter how much validation I think I've got, that I look at it and go, that is undeniable, someone can always turn around and say, well, that video was manipulated. And then you just can't prove it otherwise without bringing in everybody individually to experience it, and you can't physically do that. And so yeah, I don't think there will ever be a bit of evidence that will prove it. And it, like I say, it is a shame, and I don't like saying that, because I will continue to strive to capture it, but maybe it's a bit negative, but I just don't think that it'll ever actually be possible. Steve asks, if I were to conduct an EVP session, would spirits I contact leave after I close the session, or would they stay around? Now, I do believe that spirits have free will, depending on whether they're intelligent or residual. Don't get me wrong. If they're residual, then they're just sort of stuck around anyway. There's nothing you can say or do to affect it. But intelligent spirits, I do believe that they can come and go as they please. I think closing your session and making it very clear that you don't want them to stick around is the best defense you've got. I mean, you can do smudging rituals, and there are sort of mystical arts that are supposed to ward off spirits and to push them out. And I don't know how much stock I put in them. I do smudging rituals myself. I cleanse the house regularly to keep out negative energies. But I do believe that certain spirits, they can choose to stick around regardless of what you're saying. It's why when people ask me, like on Facebook, about starting communicating, I always start it off with, before you do, please be sure that it's what you want to do, because there is no guarantee that a spirit's gonna leave. And by opening yourself up and asking spirits to come forward, you are opening a door. You know what I mean? You don't always know what's coming through, and you can't always guarantee you're gonna close it as you would like. And so sometimes, you know what I mean, it can start something that you didn't intend, and you can get more spirits coming in and out. Obviously, that's like a worst case scenario. I mean, people, they're always communicating, going into houses and investigating, and they don't always walk away with attachments. I just like to put that out there as just a kind of a word of warning, just to be aware of it before I can advise on anything. But yeah, I think closing off your session by telling them very clearly that you don't want them to follow you, that this is as far as it goes. If they want to communicate, then you will do it again, fine, but don't stick around, kind of thing. That's what I do personally. Gustavo asks, Michael, can you put subtitles in your videos? Now, I know I've answered this question before, but I'm going to consider this a kind of refresher, because I get asked it on every single video that I post. I don't speak any other languages. And I know I've got a very large Spanish subscriber base now, and I wish I could hurry it along. I wish I could pay somebody to do it. But the subtitles that you've seen in previous videos come from the viewers. Like, viewers can submit their own subtitles. So if you speak English and Spanish and you have the time to translate that, please do. It would benefit everybody. And there are a few people that do take time out of the day to do that. Once people submit it, I will review it straight away, check that everything's, you know, where it should be, and then publish it so that everybody can benefit. So all we can do really is wait and be patient, because they don't have to take that time out of the day to do that. Like, that is, it's just their own generosity. They are doing that to the benefit of everybody, and so we can only be grateful on that. Maybe one day I can start to pay somebody to do it for every single video, but for right now, I'm relying on the viewer submissions as much as you are. Natalie asks, I always wonder, do spirits ever sleep? They must do, because they run low on energy like us, or do they just get it from electric, water, etc.? No, I don't think they sleep as we imagine sleep to be. Like, they don't have a physical body that needs to rest from exhaustion or anything like that. I think when their energy levels dip, maybe they go into a sort of dormant state where there is not enough energy for them to act out or to have any effect on the environment. But I don't think they're sleeping in the typical sense that you go away, lay down and drift off to sleep. I think they're not as present as they were. I don't think there is any need for them to sleep because of the lack of physical body. Christopher asks, do you think spirits/ghosts are bound by rules, policies of what they can and cannot do or say to people in our world? You know, it's funny, because I mean, once upon a time I'd have probably said no. I think spirits can pretty much come and go as they please. I'm not religious. I don't believe that there is a deity that controls everything and stops them saying what happens next. I'm not particularly mystic in my beliefs. I think that there is no force that's telling them where they can and can't go. I think they do as they please. But at the same time, I have had spirit communication, which I've asked about heaven and hell, and I've never had an actual response. Like, they either clamp up and just go completely quiet, I lose communication, or like I had one session with Daniel in which he just said faith, like just one word, faith. Whether that means it's, you know, have faith that things are going to be all right, or is he alluding to the fact that faith is the way forward? Like, I genuinely have no idea. I'm still not religious in my beliefs, and I will continue to be that way until I have something prove it otherwise. But it does beg the question why I've never had that solid answer. I mean, other investigators may have done, but me personally, it's always been a question they've avoided. Leafy asks, do you think they are ever going to leave? Yes, I do, and they have, to be fair. I think a spirit like Daniel, who, for me, he's more of a spirit guide type figure. He kind of protects me spiritually. I feel like he's around a lot. Like, I tend to feel his presence. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, it just feels like he's around. But other spirits come and go on a regular basis, and I think it's very much to do with the fact that I do a lot of communications. I do a lot of investigating here at home, and so I'm speaking to a lot of different spirits, and no matter how well you close a session, eventually one will kind of slip through the net and stick around and, you know, act out a little bit. But eventually they move on, and I start talking to them, and I'm getting completely different names. So I do think that they have the ability to come and go as they like, and I do think a lot of them have left. It's not like it's the same spirits acting out all the time. But I think for the likes of Daniel, I think he'll be around for a long, long time, or at least as long as I need him, I imagine. And so that's it for this week's Q&A, guys. I hope I answered your questions sufficiently and in enough detail. As I said before, if I didn't get to your question in this video, don't worry. I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll answer it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.